Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about the state of gaming in 2024. As gaming has grown throughout the years, there has been a lot more player base, a lot more players coming, emerging gamers coming in, and to a lot of people, this is the best generation of gaming there is. This is what they're growing up with. This is what they know. But is it really the best generation of gaming? Obviously, in terms of revenue, in terms of scale of the games, in terms of development, the games are brilliant. They look amazing. But it is not the best gaming generation in my opinion. And this is the 9th generation of gaming. So that's the generation we're in at the moment. But I feel like we're at this point now where gaming has become so big and so inflated that it takes almost decades to develop for these games. Look at GTA 6. GTA 6 has been in development, large part, since probably GTA 5 came out. And that was over a decade ago at this point. 2013 was when GTA 5 came out, and we're still waiting for GTA 6. Now you can say, yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a big project that they worked on. A lot of the team at Rockstar would have been working on that. But as it's grown, GTA 6 has become this almost like the meme of gaming. It's become, oh, we're all waiting for GTA 6 at this point. We're just waiting for GTA 6. And that's kind of problematic. Because when you're basically putting all your eggs in one basket and saying one game will save the entire console generation, it's kind of telling of where the console generation is, when everyone's just waiting for one game. And yes, there are exclusives on the consoles. I know people have really called me out in the past on my main channel about, hey, this is an exclusive, that's an exclusive, hey, you need to buy an Xbox, you need to buy this. Nintendo are doing exclusives great. And I agree, Nintendo are doing exclusives really well, they get it. Nintendo are also going towards Game Pass, and they're doing a lot more releases on Game Pass. And also looking at, they're getting backwards compatibility right. In terms of Sony, the main console I play, they're also doing a lot of good stuff. They're focusing on stuff like new stories like Horizon and obviously The Last of Us. They're developing The Last of Us 3 from what I've heard. But all these companies are focused on, like, development is obviously one thing, but they're really focused on get it out, just make it work. Rockstar have obviously taken their time because they don't want to release something that's broken. In all fairness to the Definitive Edition, one of the mainstream games like a Red Dead Redemption 2 or a GTA 6, I don't think they would ever release broken. I mean, people might say, oh, I had issues with Red Dead Redemption 2 when that launched, but to a large part it wasn't game breaking. It wasn't at the point where like something like Cyberpunk happened or No Man's Sky, whatever it's called. Is it No Man's Sky? Yeah, No Man's Sky. But, you know, it wasn't in that state of brokenness. You could still play the game. So the modern state of gaming is, to me, a generation where it's all about ship it and we'll fix it later. Now, with previous generations, that used to happen with the PS4 as well. But let's go back to PS3. Most PS3 games, I think that was the last generation where they tried to ship as much of the finished game on the disc as they could. And yes, some issues still persisted and they had to fix it with a patch. But patches weren't like 15, 20 gigs or whatever. It wasn't like half of the game download size to fix the game. It was just like, oh, you know, we'll send out like a 1 gig update here or like, you know, a 500 megabyte one just to fix a few of the glitches. And it's changed over time to where it's basically like they're patching half the game at this point. And, you know, it's so annoying when you sit down and you're like, okay, I have a couple of hours, I'm just going to sit down and play a good game of like Fallout 4 or something. You sit down and you go to play it, and it says, oh, by the way, we had this 10 gig update. And it's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll watch a movie over here or something. I'm like, you're just a bit over it, you know? And that's why I went towards the Switch. Like, the thing I love about Switch is that Nintendo do quality control, and it's not with every game. There are certain aspects where things slip through the cracks and they need to do a patch with some of these games. But to large part, something like Zelda, you don't even need to have an internet connection on your Switch to play that game. You don't need to patch it because it runs as intended when they shipped it. They tested that game. And this is the thing, if the industry just went back to that sort of template of like, make sure that the finished product, before we ship it, it's running as it should, so many people would go back to disc games. And the reason why so many people have moved away from discs are because you're buying it, but you can't play that game without a day one patch. So yeah, that is where I see the current state of gaming. But when you go back into older generations, why are retro games like PS3, PS2, and PS1 becoming collector status now? Like, obviously PS1 is older now, so there is a collector market for those older games. But even the PS3 is becoming collector's market now. And why is that? It's because Sony, for one, don't do backwards compatibility with PS3, unless you're paying for PlayStation Plus. Then they can somehow miraculously make it work. But it's like, so many people want to go back and play, like, I mentioned in a previous video, I had watched Fallout's TV show on my main channel. I did a review of it, which is Jamie Toomey Live, you can follow it. But I talked about, like, yeah, I've watched Fallout, and I kind of want to half go back and play Fallout 3 in New Vegas. And it's like, you're out of luck if you're a Sony gamer, because those are locked away. You can either only play those on PS3 if you have a PS3 still, or your other options are PC or jumping to Xbox. They're your only options. Sony do not offer a chance to play those games. And I think backwards compatibility, I've talked about it a couple of times in my previous gaming videos on other channels, my main channel, which this is a new channel, that's why you can only see one video on here so far. But the current state of gaming is that, you know, back in the day, Sony would pride themselves on backwards compatibility. And what would happen is, like, the PS2 shipped fully backwards compatible with PS1. And if they had not done that, I mean, it still would have sold well because it was a DVD player, but the fact that you could play every PS1 game on PS2, it drove a lot of people to say, okay, well, instead of buying the PS1, I'll buy this, and that'll be 2 generations in one. And then when the early PS3s came out, they did the same thing. Now, those early PS3s had yellow light of death, and they had a lot of issues, but it's also like, a lot of people go after those ones because they can play backwards compatible PS2 and PS1 games. And you can say PS3 can play PS1 games. I know that. I can put a disc in it and play it. I know that was a thing. But PS2 wasn't, to a large part in older generations of PS3. You get the PS4 and basically it's gone. The functionality's gone to even do PS1 games. And people say, oh, but system on a chip didn't work and system on a chip was too expensive. That's why PS3 was so expensive. Yes, I get that, but emulation, Xbox is showing how to do it right now. And Sony can actually do it in modern gaming because with PlayStation Plus, they have games like Tekken 2 working on that system. They have things like the PlayStation Classic GTA trilogy, so like Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. The PS2 classics, even though they've pulled them from the store, I had them from my PS4 and moved them across through that. They still work on that console. They actually work on the PS5. But you can play PS2 and PS1 games on PS5. But they're not necessarily focused on that. And I get they want to focus on new games. That's respectable. I mean, I definitely want a new Horizon after Horizon Forbidden West. I've played that. I don't know about the DLC. I haven't played the DLC because that's another thing with modern gaming that really annoys me. If I platinum a game, I've committed to that time, and then if you say, oh, by the way, we're going to release a DLC down the track that's, in a year or so, we'll release it, and you'll come back and play the game. It's like, yeah, but I don't actually want to come back. I would just can you put that in the third installment? Like, can you do another game out of that? Like The Last of Us, when they did The Last of Us 1, they did Left Behind it was a DLC, but it was a standalone game almost. You didn't have to, you could play one or the other. And yes, definitely you need to play both to understand what's happening in Left Behind. But DLC shouldn't be used as like, oh, this will bring gamers back. It's like, yeah, but if I play your game, I want it all at once. I want to play through the entire story. I don't want to say, okay, I'll play part of the story and then I'll do the rest of the story later on. Because by then I've already moved on to another game, I have other games in my inventory that I want to play. And that's a problem. But anyways, guys, I'm going to keep this one short. That's just a few thoughts I have on modern gaming and why I think retro gaming is the way to go. Because you can go back and the vast libraries of PS2, especially PS2 and PS3, you can enjoy those. Like, they are still really good. Like, the gameplay of PS2 was really up to scratch. PS3 had graphics that you could even look great on a HD TV today. So, there are so many options today that you can look at. And anyways, guys, I'm going to end it here. I've ranted on for a bit. That's just some of my thoughts. Tell me what you think in my comments. Jump down there, subscribe, like, notify, whatever else. I don't know. Have some fun. Yeah. Anyways, guys, talk to me about gaming. Jump in my comments, let me know. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.